Hi, I'm Chucky Harling and welcome to After Party, the show where I interview sustainable brand founders in their natural habitats. Today I'm joined by Kathryn Hewitson, designer and founder of the fashion label Pristine. Kathryn's career in fashion began at cult London labels Meadham Kirchhoff, Sibling and Ashley Williams. Later she landed the head of design role at Rocket Originals, the upcycled line by the well-known London vintage shop. On top of her day job, she started selling her own line of corsets on Depop, which started to make enough money for her to quit her job at Rocket. Since launching Pristine in 2021, Kathryn has been committed to supporting local producers, working with British Wool and the UK's last remaining lace manufacturer. Kathryn also incorporates dead stock and vintage fabrics into Pristine collections, and she has even designed her very own tartan with a traditional Scottish mill. The brand oozes glamour in all its forms, taking inspiration from old Hollywood films, Playboy bunnies and 70s porn mags, fusing a celebration of femininity with a harder edge of subculture. Having been worn by Julia Fox, Kourtney Kardashian, Chloe Cherry and now me, Pristine is the brand for the cool girls about town. Imagine a sexy, smart-ass girl gang uniting to right the wrongs of the world, with killer cleavage, silk stockings and a mouthful of bubblegum. When Kathryn isn't balanced on the top of a photocopier, scanning her own arse for a pristine skirt design, she can be found rewatching old Hollywood movies and rifling through 1940s slip dresses for inspiration. Welcome to the After Party, Kathryn.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So I wanted to start by talking about your upbringing. So you grew up in Cumbria in a village called Thornhill. What was it like growing up there as a kid interested in fashion?
I was kind of an alien, I guess. It's kind of weird that I have always been into fashion and clothes and style and like whatever. Like since I was like tiny, I was just saying I'm running around on a tiny kid. I'm going to be a fashion designer. I'm going to be a fashion designer. Like I didn't know any fashion designers. I'd never seen one. I don't think I particularly knew what was involved in it. I don't know where. It's like it's always the story that you'll always have someone in a situation that's like, oh yes, my grandmother was so stylish. I would watch her applying her rouge. It's like no, none of that. I don't really know where it came from. But yeah, I don't know. I just always loved it, and it was a really strange one trying to get my parents to kind of understand and be on board with it, because I guess they didn't have any fucking point of reference for it either. So we got there in the end, but I think it was really the kind of craft kind of element, I think, when I was younger that really appealed to me. And not really even having the resources or the places to be able to buy the things I wish I was wearing. And I've just always loved figuring out like how to like do things, make things. Like when I was like tiny, like primary school kid, I was always just like crafting stuff, like making stuff.
What were you making? What kind of thing?
I don't know if you ever remember, there was like Spice Girls, like boxes of chocolates. They were great. They were very, I think they were like roses or something, but had like Old Spice Girls on the packets. And I made a flag out of the sweet wrappers at some point. Made some slippers once in school when I was in like year 5 that I insisted that I made like a padded footbed out of kitchen sponges, and no one thought it was going to work, but it did. And then started making my own clothes when I was like around 13, 14. Initially kind of customizing things I already had, or like chopping the majority of a t-shirt away.
What was your like dress sense at the time? Do you remember expressing yourself through clothes?
It was there's not that many pictures of me from when I was a teenager. I suppose it was like the time before we all were like taking photos of everything constantly, but also like didn't have the best like self-esteem, so didn't really like having photos taken. It was a real shame, because then thinking back now, it's like I really wish I could have seen the fucking state that I must have looked like. We'd had like varying colours of like green, pink, patchwork, smothered, bleached hair, tiny t-shirts and like tiny little skirts that I'd made that were like, my favourite one was like zebra print and like had like kind of dishevelled kind of asymmetric like frills and like a big like chunky zip. It was like, there's definitely a through thread from like the stuff that I liked then I think that teenage me would think that what I did now was really cool.
Yeah.
That's really nice. But lots of big boots and studded belts and just piles and piles of stuff all the time. All my friends were like really into emo, and that I would always get like tarred with that brush. I would be like, I'm not emo, I'm punk. But like, I guess we looked pretty fucking similar, to be honest. But yeah, and I mean, I used to spend a lot of time like reading like online forums of like girls on the other side of the world that were like, "Oh, here's how I chopped up my t-shirt," which always felt really nice.
That's
then I always had to click it off the screen when my dad came in the room. It's like, they're stealing our bank details, and like they're pedos. It's like, no, it's like nice like teenage girls like talking about like bands they like and like customizing fucking t-shirts.
Yeah, I'm on Tumblr, Dad. Just leave me alone.
It's very much like that.
Was it Tumblr? Was it MySpace?
LiveJournal, I think, was one of the big ones where people would have like blogs and stuff, like like blogging kind of being a real thing. That the people have communities on like LiveJournal, and there'd be ones that would have like about people's hair, about people's t-shirts, or like whatever it was. And yeah, like there was a website I remember actually, it was called like Mad Rad Hair, which would always like look at me and my friends and try to decide, like look at people's like, it's just everyone would just like all the million different colours, they'd like dye the hair, like posting pictures of themselves, and then we'd be like, oh, let's do it like that, like that. It was like, yeah,
so good. And where does like Barbie fit into all of this? Because you played with your Barbies, didn't you?
I need to show you a photo.
Yeah,
I can like insert it of like tiny me.
Yeah,
I was like obsessed with Barbies.
Yeah,
room, bed sheets, everything. This picture is like Barbie t-shirt, like Barbie like little like leggings, like with my Barbie doll on my bed, my Barbie bed covers in my pink bedroom, and I just look like so pleased with myself. But yeah, it's funny that I was obsessed with Barbies, but I'm not sure it was I was about to say I'm not sure it was the clothes, but then again at the same time I did have a dress that was a matching dress to one of my Barbies, and it was my favourite thing in the world.
Amazing.
It's like the same thing, and it wasn't like now where I had like a picture of Barbie in the middle. It was like literally the exact same dress for me and for her. And
when do you think you decided I want to be a fashion designer?
I think when I was like really quite young, actually, though didn't necessarily think it was going to happen. Or because of the kind of conflict that I had with my parents about it all, there was a lot of kind of, okay, so I guess the way I'm going to make this work is that I'm going to like move away and study something else that like they approve, like get me out of Cumbria, get me somewhere, and then maybe because they really wanted me to study like something to do with like maths. I was always like a brainy kid, and they obviously thought that like, oh, you know, you could go and be an accountant and then have like loads of money. And I'm like, well, maybe if I go and be an accountant and don't kill myself, I can save that money and start a fashion brand. But fortunately, kind of my like sixth form, my art teacher basically like changed the course of my life, like unprovoked, not ever even been discussed between the two of us, but like at like a parents' evening, like the last one in school, like days before the like application deadline for uni, and she basically just threw a cat among the pigeons. And after then going home and you made her do that, you put her up to that, I'm like, I literally had no idea. And then eventually, yeah, they kind of came around to it. Which is good.
That's amazing. And what were you doing? Textiles at the time? Was it art? Like, what was
my A levels at school were maths, art, and further maths.
Yeah, oh my god.
Because I was in this shitty arse end of nowhere town where there wasn't enough people to want to do textiles. It's funny even thinking then of some of the pieces that I made at sixth form, because she like really encouraged me to make kind of this textile based things or like garment based things. It's just call anything art, really.
No, exactly.
And I've made a dress that was kind of what period was it? Kind of Victorian kind of looking, but it had all these like appliques of like lace and beading, kind of like dégradé kind of. It wasn't nice. It was pretty hideous, but it was like, it's again, you can see the kind of certain things that have always like really appealed to me, whether it's kind of like certain aspects of like historical dress or embellishment or lace, or whatever it is. And it's kind of funny how these things, I don't know where these seeds are necessarily planted, but these certain things always like stick with you. Or there was a pair of trousers that I used to repeatedly draw in like my like school notebooks and stuff. Never made them. Like actually I'm really thinking of making them now, just to kind of honour my like teenage self. But they sound like fucking nuts. But they were like like a slim leg, like trouser that had the kind of like seam running through that's kind of like a bit like cowboyish for some reason.
Okay.
And like the outside of the leg was like a tartan, and then the inside of the leg was like leopard print.
And then post school on to Newcastle. How was that? You did fashion there, right?
I did, yeah. I mean, my parents were like, I guess whatever their reasoning was like, well, fine, you can study fashion, but like, you're not going to London. Okay, cool.
You've got to stay in the north.
You're not going like so far away. I mean, I was the first person in my family that have like, you know, moved away and gone to uni, whatever. Anyway, like all the rest of my like immediate family are like still within like a few mile radius of where they were born and kind of grew up.
Yeah.
So I understand the kind of apprehension, I guess. Yeah, it's such a kind of insulated, tiny kind of space. I think I'd put so much pressure on. I was like, finally, I'm gonna go and like live my dream. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna like move to like the big sea, and then you get there, and it was a bit of like a slap in the face of being like, oh no, like this isn't gonna solve all of your problems, and like all your like hopes and dreams aren't going to come true overnight. Like the people that you are like looking for maybe don't exist, and just because you're here and you're studying this thing you want was really hard. And I was like really, really depressed for years when I was at uni. It was really tough. I mean, I managed to kind of come through it at the end, and I'm like, you know, my like graduate collection and all that. I think it was like the only project at uni I actually technically finished. And my tutors, I think, could just see the potential in me and see how much I was trying and believing. So they were like ignored the fact that I didn't do like a muse board.
Yeah.
And it was fine. But I mean, I don't think that a university environment is necessarily like where I thrive. I think it's the same with school as well. Like I was always good at school, but I much prefer the like learning by like doing, you know, and being like just like diving into something and like figuring it out. I've always had a bit of an issue with authority. And I think just people learn in different ways.
Yeah.
I think I learned so much more just from even when I was a teenager figuring shit out myself, or the interning like the year out we had from uni. Learned so much more from any of that stuff than I did from education. University just feels like a bit of a scam, to be honest. I think. And I mean, not necessarily all things, but I think that the fact that fashion courses barely teach you anything, or there's so much controversy around unpaid internships, even though you're learning so much more from that than you are at uni. And the universities, I think, are kind of relying on those unpaid internships to teach the students shit that they should be teaching them themselves.
Yeah.
And it's so kind of confused and messy, and like, I don't know what the answer is, because realistically, there is no way as a 18-year-old I would have just like packed my little bindle and been like, all right, off to London, going to go and like make it in the fashion industry. I wouldn't have had a clue. If the only real thing I got out of uni was that it got me out of West Cumbria, then like, worth it.
Post Newcastle, it was bright lights, big city. Let's move to London.
Well, I mean, like, if you want to work in fashion and you're going to be in the UK, like,
yeah,
you go to London. I mean,
because you were like interning at Roxanda, but also working in a pub.
So the Roxanda was when I was at uni. It was amazing. I was like, oh my God, like, it really felt like that really reassured me that like my experience at Newcastle was not, so that's not the fashion industry, you know? And then the internship there made me feel like, oh yes, like this is the world I want to be a part of. Delusional, but like, but then so I was working in a pub and interning at Medium Kirchhoff. It kind of very quickly went from being like an internship to like a sort of job, but sort of not really, but was also completely coinciding with the collapse of the company. Which was very intense, but very exciting, very toxic, but incredible. And there was a whole lot of stuff going on, and then working like 40 hours in a pub for minimum wage, eating a Snickers a day, and just getting on with it, and like crying a lot, and like, there's got to be a way through this. There's got to kind of, you know. But it felt amazing at the same time, and it felt magical, and it felt like I was getting closer to the path that I wanted to be on. The kind of energy you have for these things when you're younger is insane. When I think back to it now, I don't know how you did it.
Yeah.
But I guess you just have to, so you just do.
Just go.
Yeah.
And then Medium Kirchhoff, for people who don't know the brand, how would you describe? Because it had like quite a following at the time, didn't it?
Everyone was obsessed. Yeah. God, how to describe it? I mean, I guess it was just was like all the good shit. And the pieces were like, you know, might have been inspired by like subculture or whatever, but everything was so like incredibly executed to such a high standard, like couture finishes, like amazing, luxurious like fabrics and structure and layers and volume. And the shows were then piling on top of that with like the makeup and the hair and the styling, and everything was, it was a real like recreated world. Amazing. And people were like dressing like it, you know, no one could afford the clothes because they were like, it was like a 40k for a jacket or something because there's so much work in these pieces, but people were obsessed with it and like emulating that like look, and it was all over Tumblr and like whatever. But unfortunately, when the people that love your stuff are so far away from the people that can afford it, I guess
work.
it's a bit doomed in that way. When I was at Roxanda, seeing all these amazing, beautiful fabrics, and she would use a lot of like old kind of couture techniques and stuff, and it's just like fabrics, and this it makes my like mouth water. It makes me like get so like excited, and it's a tricky one when at the same time you do really want to make stuff that isn't just purely available to like, I don't know, oligarchs' wives, but just the desire to make like beautiful things. Yeah, it's, if you've seen or touched this amazing, I don't know, like Duchess silk satin or this amazing cashmere, like whatever it is, like how can you then go and be like, yeah, fine, I'll use this polyester jersey, like dress. It's just, and that's, I feel like so much of the industry is going that way now.
Yeah.
And it makes me really sad that the
quality is fading.
Yeah. Huge brands, they'll be selling something for like $3,000, but it'll be made of the cheapest, nastiest fabric, and it's just like, it's offensive to like the.
It is like the consumers.
Yeah. It's grim.
Yeah.
It's insulting, and I think so many people now don't even necessarily know what good quality clothing is because they've never seen it.
And how do you try and be the antithesis of that at Pristine?
God. I mean, I know my life would be a lot easier and the business would probably be bigger and selling more if I was happy to turn around and just like hop onto a trend and do it cheaply and, you know, be like, oh, this is the vibe, then we can do that and we can make something as cheaply as possible. But my like own like morals just won't let me. And yeah, I wish that I was, you know, selling more stuff and earning more money and whatever, but I'm not gonna contribute to the mess that the fashion industry is in, that the world is in.
Yeah.
To do it.
You also worked at Rocket, didn't you, as the head of design for Rocket Originals, which is their upcycled line, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that influenced like sustainability, all being about upcycling, or do you think that was there already for you?
I think that job came along at the right kind of time for where my kind of passions and values were kind of heading, or where they always were, but they were like awakening in me, I suppose. After years of working in the kind of fashion like bubble, I was like really jaded by it. I'd had some really bad experiences and I didn't want to be in that world. Now the grass isn't always greener, but what was really great was that I got a lot of freedom. And I was kind of trusted in a lot of ways to, you know, experiment and do things. And we had so much available to us that if we would turn around and say, okay, I really want a load of wool blankets or silk scarves or whatever it was, like the kind of sourcing kind of end of the company that's based in Canada would be able to like take time for things to kind of get to us. And it was just, really satisfying to turn something that someone didn't want into something really great. A company that, I guess, because of the nature of vintage, attracts really, really great people. And there's like, I made so many like great friends there. And it was nice to get the space mentally and the freedom and the resources in terms of like materials to be able to like experiment and figure out what works and figure out the kind of processes and whatever, because like my baby and my passion was the more kind of like experimental, kind of more expensive stuff that we were doing.
And what did that look like in terms of pieces?
Like coats made out of like blankets or like old upholstery fabrics, or
sort of bigger pieces in a way. Yeah.
But stuff that we couldn't necessarily produce mountains of. But at the same time, the lower kind of price point pieces, in terms of customizations that we were doing to jeans or t-shirts or whatever, we were churning out hundreds of these pieces.
So it was all sewn in the warehouse, right? So how big was the team?
It varied, but was kind of between like 5 and 10 people at various points over the like couple of years that I was there. And so I was kind of working on the designs and the patterns and all that kind of side of it, but also managing the team and the production and all of it, and the pricing and the kind of social media and all that kind of stuff. It was very much kind of like building this tiny little brand within the brand. And I didn't necessarily get to do all the things I would have like loved to do, or you face conflict with, but it was quite reassuring to be able to take something that when I started there to when I left was a very, very different thing. But I went into that job, and I think I even said when I was being interviewed, actually, I was like, oh, this is going to be my last job. After this, I'm doing my own thing. And I mean, I did.
Yeah. So let's talk about that transition from Rocket to Pristine. Really exciting moment for you. How did that come about?
Yeah. I mean, so many people always ask me, especially with starting the brand, when I did, it's like, oh, was it like a COVID like project? So many people was like, I'm going to start a brand because like I'm on furlough. I was like, no, this has been like in the works since I was like this big. But it was always on the cards, and that was the right time. And I'd had some like health issues that I'd figured out and dealt with, and I was finally feeling like I was in the kind of space where mentally, physically I could do it. And so I just kind of, over the space of a year or so, like started working on a little collection, doing all the bits and bobs behind the scenes and trying to build the social media and trying to build the website and blah, 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 blah. But, the job that I had wasn't very well paid and didn't have any money to kind of put into it from anywhere else. So it was like waiting every month to kind of get paid, to be like, okay, I guess I can afford to spend a couple of £100 on like silk this month, or on screen printing next month, and then selling random old pieces on Depop to kind of pay for it. Like some of the things I miss so much, but I was like, okay, I'd rather have a business than amazing old pieces from Medium, or like this Dior saddlebag that I miss to this day. But
do we have pictures of that?
We do we? I like sleep with them under my pillow. But now I have this beast. So it took the best part of, I think, maybe like a year and a half of me gradually chipping away at it, and running out of things I could sell. I was like really needed to like scrape money together to like do my kind of like photo shoot and all of that. And I had a couple of kind of like corset style kind of tops like in the collection, and then I saw the kind of trend for that really kind of picking up kind of steam. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just take a couple of kind of shitty pictures just like on myself in the flat with the kind of corset tops. And I made a couple of different ones that were just like plain basic. Because I remember looking on Depop. I don't know if you can still do this, but at the time, because I felt like this was like peak Depop. And you could sort by like best selling things for people that were like, using the same list and selling multiples. And I was looking at the best selling and like most liked listings for like corsets and stuff, and I was like, they are fucking terrible. Like all I need to do is get it out there and it'll but it really, really, really did. And it was really overwhelming. It was amazing.
What was like your bestseller? Do you remember what it looked like?
It was just a kind of really basic little kind of, it was like heavy, like organic cotton, like black twill. We did a white version later as well, just like lace trim everywhere, little bows. Really simple, I guess quite versatile.
Mm-hmm.
I say really simple. I mean, it is quite simple. And so that kind of really kind of picked up steam, and I was working full time in the day and then coming home and evenings and weekends, just sewing constantly.
Yeah.
And then was getting up at like 5 a.m. and like reading books about like marketing and all this, and just being like, and trying to plan the others and do the website things and all that in the morning, because I didn't have as much time to be doing that prep stuff as I had, because I was sewing constantly.
Yeah.
But it felt so exciting. And also meant that when I like launched, it wasn't like coming from like nothing. It wasn't coming from zero.
So courses have become a bit of a Pristine signature, haven't they? Where do you think your love of them comes from?
I mean, I think it's a mix of things. I think it's, I've always had a fondness for kind of various kind of historical kind of garments, and also the way that they're just a real celebration of like the female form, and obviously got a really bad rep a lot of time, being like, oh yeah, it's like a torture device or whatever, and it's like, no, they're actually pretty comfortable. I get kind of bitter sometimes, to be honest, with making these pieces, that like I had breast cancer and I had a mastectomy and I don't look as good in these things as other people do, which makes me really fucking annoyed sometimes. And I would love to be like, well, tits McGee,
boobs out, yeah.
Pieces. But they still look great.
Yeah.
But it's just such a satisfying like object, and you can pack so much like detail into a piece, and there's so many little things that you can change, and they look really great with so much different stuff. There's just what's not to like,
Gorgeous. Should we talk about some of your pieces?
Yeah.
Let's get them in. So let's talk about the OG, the one that Depop went wild for.
This is the candy top. We made in black, in the white with the blue, and then pink. But then also ended up doing like loads of variations too. People wanted customizations. People wanted it with a zip, or they wanted it in velvet, or blah blah blah. So many things. Stop doing the like completely custom corsets when I launched the brand like properly. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple, but it's, cute. I mean, I get why people like them. For a kind of contrast, this is the Cha-Cha corset that's like from the kind of current range. This is much more like a corset, This is a cotton top.
Yeah.
This structured, it's called lacing, but it's not like, it's more like hardcore, and it has like a couture kind of layer in the middle, which is like really heavy, like cotton canvas that traditionally corsets are made out of, and it's got steel boning, and it has all sorts of stuff going on. It's in this gorgeous like dead stock heavy Duchess satin. The tassels we make ourselves.
That is a gorgeous Duchess satin. For those who can't feel this.
It's got fancy little overpriced Riri zip in there with a little silk puller. The ribbons are all in silk, and it's just like. But what I thought would be interesting to show you as well, because part of this kind of, you're always learning, which is really nice. I love like learning a new skill or a new process, and then there's different ways you can use it. You don't look at it and think corset, but inside of this dress basically has hidden between the lining and the outside has couture panels.
Wow.
And boning. Has a waist tape that's kind of an old kind of like couture technique, and it will basically cinch your waist. Also kind of anchors the garment in place, so when you move around it's not going to jiggle and wiggle. And a lot of those kind of like typically kind of corset techniques that then you start thinking, how can I apply this to other garments? And even just those elements affect so much the way that the garment sits on you. And the way you feel when you're wearing it. And it's easier to kind of fasten the zip, and it takes strain off the zip. It's like all these techniques that existed in like, older garments. A lot of them were functional as well as just, beautiful, and they were made to make it last longer.
Yeah.
And you fit better and whatever. And so much of that's lost now because the stuff, it's an inside layer, you can't see it. So, and especially buying something online, look at two pictures side by side, you're not going to have a clue that has a couture boned like internal structure and that one doesn't. And so again, I think it's one of those things where people just don't know these things ever existed.
No.
And I think part of that comes as well from the, you know, the love of vintage and stuff as well. It's that you just see
the beauty
Yeah.
in what was before.
and the craft, and it's really satisfying, like making like beautifully made things, but they don't have to look like old fashioned and like
No.
it can still be a tarty, stupid little dress that like has your arse cheeks hanging out, but it's cinching and it's, you know,
It's gorgeous.
thank you. I agree.
So we've touched on corsets, but what other vintage pieces do you think you tend to look to for inspiration?
I mean, one of my like big loves is like 1930s fashion. You know, old Hollywood glamour and like meters and meters of bias cut silk. And yeah, there's just something that feels so modern about a lot of those pieces, even though it's close to 100 years ago now. And you know, these pieces like feel great to wear, and I think is a kind of underexplored, kind of underplayed with thing. I have so many ideas of things I want to do with, you know, that's based around those kind of styles of garments. I also really love like the 60s as a period as well for fashion, especially that kind of like early 60s, still kind of looks like the 50s, but somehow really camp and like crazy coloured and kind of tacky. But it's kind of funny that I feel like in my head, like 60s fashion and like 30s fashion in terms of like structure and fabrics and silhouettes, they're kind of like the opposite of each other.
Yeah.
Like in the 60s, everything was very structured and compact and clean. And I think I just like stuff that's quite extreme. It's, yeah, I don't really like when something's done by halves, you know? It's like the most glamorous or like the most, you know, short of the skirt or the most structured, or
We don't like dibble dabbling.
no, exactly.
So talk to me about old Hollywood and where your love of kind of films comes from.
I mean, I don't really know where it comes from, but yeah, it's all through the last few weeks. I've been like really having like a deep dive into like loads of like old kind of 30s films I'd never seen before, actually, which has been really nice. And the, I mean, it's not, I'm sure, what people look like in real life, but you know, the hair and the makeup and the dresses and the fashion was such like a key part of so many of those films. And it's just some of the most exquisite clothes you've ever seen in your life. And it's really frustrating that like you often can't find screenshots of them and the quality of things are quite low, and you just think how amazing it would be to be able to like see that in real life and touch it. And yeah, I think, you know, I guess no expenses were spared in a lot of ways on these things, and some of the kind of costume people of that period of time are like legends, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's to say it's escapism, I don't think is necessarily like fair. And it is escapism, but I don't think that's the appeal, because I mean, I wear that shit every day.
Yeah.
But
And who would you say are some of the most glamorous film stars?
my boyfriend always like laughs at me because I'll be like obsessed with like certain people in a film, and he's like, it's always the ones that like look like you. Like, well, I know what I like. We watched an amazing film the other day. It's called Topper, and it's about this really fun, like jovial, like young couple, and they get killed in a car crash, and then they're ghosts. And they're like haunting this guy that they're mates with, but it's really fun. But the girl, the lead actress, she's called Constance Bennett, I think it is, who I've never actually heard of, and seems to be one of those people that was like just never quite like made it. But her outfit in this film is like so incredible, and she's wearing this like gown that's all sequined and it's bat-winged, and it's just like the way it sparkles on the screen, and her hair's all perfectly set in the finger waves, and she has this big kind of like white fur. It's one of my like things that I find really funny, that there's been a couple of times where I've been, you know, walking around wearing some old slip or something, and because I'm obviously very pale and blonde and whatever, where people have made a joke to their friends, oh, I thought that was a ghost. And like, and I'm like, yes. I mean, in terms of then like later on, not necessarily 30s, I mean, like, I'll always be obsessed with like Jane Mansfield. She's just like everything.
And what else would you say are some of your main inspirations?
I mean, I've always, you know, since I was a teenager, been really passionate and interested in subculture, mainly like punk, but aspect of goth and kind of like fetishy stuff. And combining those kind of influences and aesthetics with the kind of old Hollywood, all the more kind of haute couture kind of elements, I think is really interesting. And I think that's where the kind of like core of the brand kind of is that kind of contrast of, as I say, you can make this beautifully made, structured kind of all these internal details dress, but from the outside you look like a bloody trollop. But like, that's pristine, you know? It's very much about doing it for yourself, you know? And, you know, living your life on your own terms. And yeah, wanting to get dressed up in this like sassy little outfit, but like for you, you know? But if someone thinks it's like for them, they can get a kick in the teeth.
In terms of your design process, what does that look like?
It's really varied. I mean, it doesn't necessarily start with sketching, but sketching does come.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it, and we're not really having like a, you know, like a team of people like working on that side of things with me. A lot of it happens, I think, in my own head. And you know, I'll get more to the point of like drawing things out when I'm just trying to, you know, make decisions about where seams are going to fall or how things all look together, like drawing out your little range. I think my design process is kind of changing. And I think to start with, a lot of things were just kind of instinctively like, oh, I'll just do that. But as I kind of really desire making these more kind of complex pieces, it makes more sense to map things out and draw things. And I'm inspired massively by fabrics and trying to work as much as possible with dead stock or with existing materials in some form or another. A lot of that, you know, has to kind of come really early on in the process. There's a few of the kind of like dead stock suppliers that I'll be like constantly checking their website, and if I see something that's right, I will buy it and then know that I'll have to just figure out what I want to use it for.
Yeah.
Which means that it was a very expensive year last year, but also have lots of great, beautiful fabrics that I know there's kind of signature materials that I will always be drawn to.
Yeah.
And will work for the types of pieces I want to make. And so even if I don't necessarily know what it's going to be, I know I'll figure it out. Because I actually have a toile of a really cute little blouse that really worked on the pattern for it and made probably 8 toiles or something to get this perfect. And the shape fit is so cute, so perfect. Had this fabric in mind, like a dead stock fabric. And the day that I went to buy it, like I like got the tab open on my phone. I was like, okay, I'll buy it now. I was like, no, wait, don't like doing stuff like that on your phone. You want the big screen and the concentration. So wait till I get here. And by the time I was here, someone else had bought it.
Oh,
like,
no.
Rushing.
So let's talk about some of your pieces made from dead stock.
Since I've been changing the way that I've been doing things and kind of trying to slow the pace down a bit and really focus on, you know, the quality and not overproducing things and having like a smaller range and it being like really perfect. A part of that was, you know, either going to work with dead stock wherever I can or selective kind of new things, but coming from suppliers that are really like important and that you don't want to see disappear. And so most of the current kind of collection is made, at least each garment, kind of partly of dead stock. This skirt, we have a little kind of bustier kind of top to match. I'm not sure if the camera will pick it up very much or not, but it's an amazing like moire. It has a kind of
that is gorgeous,
marky kind of texture in it, which is a dead stock. But then the lace trim is new, but it's from one of the few like French lace mills that are still around. And I think making the exceptions about the dead stock when it's this amazing like heritage kind of craft, you know, is kind of
100%
fine. And yeah, and then the lining is silk, which is not dead stock, but you know, it's luxurious
It's
material
silk.
and it's biodegradable, and it feels really nice when you wear it. And it's, you know, for making these pieces that are like timeless and beautifully constructed, I think we're allowed to kind of, no one's perfect, you know?
Exactly. It's all a journey, isn't it?
Similarly, this as a kind of follow on to the kind of pink lame pieces that we did before that were super, super popular. So I found this fabric, which, I mean, touch it, it feels incredible.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Another dead stock. And then with a slightly different lace from a different supplier, actually. But yeah, it's a beast to work with, that fabric, to be honest, because it's so fluid, but worth it. Because, I mean...
So what do we have here?
What do we have here? I thought it would be interesting to show you. It feels like all I'm showing you is things with lace. I mean, all the leopard stuff is also dead stock. Most of this collection is at least partly dead stock. But the satin base of this, it's a Dutch satin with then a layer of lace over the top. The lace, again, being a lovely French lace, but the base fabric being the same as the pink corset that I showed you earlier. And you can kind of really transform the material based on, yeah, you're layering it, and yeah,
Gorgeous.
thanks.
So if you touched on lace, where do you source your lace from? Because obviously when you're not working with dead stock, you're passionate about supporting like heritage manufacturing, which is like disappearing.
I have 3 main suppliers that I will get lace from. One being based in the UK and 2 of them in France. The UK lace mill, which is the only one left. They're based in Nottingham, which has a whole heritage previously of making, you know, lingerie, both garments and materials. And that's nearly all gone now. But Clooney, the company that I get this lace from, and they have the most amazing, beautiful range. And they're really nice. And it's not prohibitively expensive, you know, and the quality of it compared to like some nasty crap you're going to get from China is just like, you know, it doesn't compete. And, you know, if we don't support these businesses, they will go. And the world will be a pretty sad place.
Yeah.
And a much less like beautiful place. And I know how good I feel on a good day, knowing I have a kind of skill and a craft, you know, and even if everything goes totally to shit, like people are always still going to need clothes, and it's being able to have like an actual craft and a skill and a trade is really special. And, you know, for some of the people that are, so many of these companies are like family run, and, you know, they've been in generations and generations of these families are working towards the same thing. And that's just something that I think needs to be kind of nurtured, you know?
Yeah, protected.
Yeah.
And should we talk about tartan? Because you designed your very own tartan, which I'm sporting today.
Looking beautiful. Yeah, I mean, that's something I kind of always wanted to do. And I think it speaks really nicely to that idea of combining the kind of heritage, kind of traditional materials, processes, blah, 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 but with a kind of playful spin, you know? And, you know, always liked tartan, you know, always in the market for things in a tartan, but I'm really fussy about the colours that I wear, and you really don't come by, I guess, you know, the clans in the Highlands aren't skipping around in like pink kind of kilts. But, you know, I work with an amazing company called Loch Arran of Scotland. They make fabrics for, you know, traditional Clansmen and big designer brands as well. And it was really satisfying getting so involved in that process, and them sending me all of the kind of colour options, and us having the back and forward about what we wanted the layout to be. And I sent them mock-ups and they sent things back. And pink and yellow, anyone that knows me wish that I would stop several times a week just going on and on about how great the colour combination pink and yellow is, but it is. And it feels like you know, it's pretty and it's cute, but it's also a little bit kind of aggressive. Aggressive is maybe not the right word, but it's got like a bite to it.
Yeah.
And it yeah, I mean, I really like it. And what was really nice, that I was not sure how commercial it would be, you know, but people like it.
People love it.
People buy it.
I didn't even know that you could have like different layouts, which is really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's really interesting actually is that you're not allowed to copy someone else's like
it's trademarked
layout.
in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And the kind of Scottish tartan registry that keeps a record of all the kind of tartans that have been made basically are really particular, and it's really protected, which is, you know, really
that's
nice.
amazing.
And it can't be too similar to someone else's. And the way it's named, you have to have some kind of connection to, or like affinity to. They care about maintaining the kind of integrity and heritage of it, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And you can still play around with it and still make something that looks really modern or really playful.
So we've talked about tartan. Should we now talk about newsprint? Because you've made some of your own headlines.
Sounds good. I've always loved like newspaper prints. Like some of my like hero like designers, it's something they've done. Elsa Schiaparelli was like, I think, the first person to ever do it, and I mean, she's just like
goddess.
You know, like Franco Moschino, obviously Galliano. It's just great, and it has that kind of. I know it's nothing new. I know I didn't invent it, but I wanted it basically, so I made it. This set was actually the first pieces made in the kind of was kind of now signature kind of newspaper print. It was from our spring summer 23 collection. Yes.
Just looking at a woman charged with wearing bad outfit.
Yeah, it was a process.
Yeah.
Making the print. Yes, they are all handwritten. I don't know what that means. Handwritten. I wrote the articles. I tried a lot of shit. Horoscopes are real. NASA scientist confirms. Also, little Easter eggs in there, birthdays and names. And I think what's really nice is like that there's probably people that own these pieces, and then they'll be bored waiting for the bus, and then they'll just start having a read. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Oh, they're like, my phone's run out of battery. Why don't I just read the paper?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's just really fun being able to be really intentional of where you're cutting the fabric to. Like the buttons on here, one has a little star, one just says tragic, because why not? And yeah, it's something that, you know, it's really nice when you make something because you want it, and then other people want it too. So we've kind of...
I feel like that's a running theme with the All brand as well. You're just like, I want to wear this, so this is what I'm going to make.
I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not sorry. I'm like, I'm making shit that I want, and assuming if I want it, other people want it too. Sometimes they don't, or sometimes something will be really popular that's something that I'm like, I don't really know why I made this.
Yeah.
And then these pieces do really well, but we're not all the same, you know?
Can't
It'd be really
predict it.
boring. No. Sometimes though, sometimes you just know. So I thought I'd show you a couple of other pieces that we made in this print as we've kind of revisited, obviously screen print. No digital print here. No. This dress is then kind of collaged from 3 different prints that we've done. And it's really nice being able to use, you know, the same artwork, same print, and different materials and different colours across kind of time, you know? Unfortunately, this piece, because it all being silk and being screen print and having so many different arcs, very, very expensive to do. But, you know.
Well, that's why you've got the 50-gram bingo on there. The lucky numbers on page 18.
Yeah, like this sort of thing is something I really want to kind of explore more in the future, figuring out the ways to do it and it not be a bajillion trillion pounds. And then by contrast to the pricey kind of nature of this, in the same collection we also made the little kind of newspaper kind of capri legging, which I need to make more of because my pair are covered in coffee stains because I wear them like every day. And it's really nice to make a piece that's, you know, still feels like glam and fun, but it's also like really comfortable and really wearable.
Yeah.
And, you know, not super high price point. So it's nice to kind of keep these things like flowing through and like reinventing stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I like that you could wear something from an older collection with something from a newer one, and it all feels like part of the same world, you
Same
know?
universe, isn't
Yeah.
it? And should we talk about the bum skirt, which was actually a picture of your own arse?
Well, I had the idea for this piece. You know, I love like trompe l'oeil stuff. And had the idea for this piece, and then was trawling online trying to find the right underwear, because it couldn't, like, you had to be really intentional with it. It had to be right, you know? And eventually found this amazing, like, I think it's like 80s, like Fredericks of Hollywood, like set that I ordered from America. It was about 200 quid or something. I mean, it's paid for itself multiple times over at this point. But so, yeah, this is a photo of me that was in like the spare room of our old flat where I used to work from, just taken on my phone. Like, nothing glamorous, nothing cool about it. If you could all see what this looked like and what was around, the chaos of the room, like I was like peak busy with working on everything. It was intense. But what is really nice is like this piece did so well, and I think it was like a real signature for the brand for ages. And, you know, it was a nice little money maker in that sense too. And also it's really funny, like, how many people are like walking around with a picture of my bum.
So we've talked about that piece. It's quite similar to the piece that Julia Fox wore. So should we talk about that? And just in general, how does it feel to have celebrities wearing your stuff? Mixed emotions.
I don't want to say I feel nothing, because that's not true, but it's really sad how much things that when you were kind of younger and dreaming of doing this, these big achievements that you think are going to make you feel like so excited, I kind of don't. Which is really awful. It feels really bleak to admit, but like, I mean, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, what is really nice about it is quite often when these things happen, you don't necessarily see it right away. A lot of the, like, especially like really famous people, don't even necessarily tag or
No.
stylist or whoever. It's not always alone, you know. Sometimes it's been purchased or it was from a really long time ago. But what is so nice is when you get fans of the brand sending things to me, commenting, letting me know, and it's like, that feels really nice that people are out there and they're excited and they're seeing it and they want to make sure that we do. And it's like, that part of it feels really special and feels like it's like a real kind of community. And I mean, obviously, if it results in, you know, more awareness of the brand and whatever, like, great. But I really love making clothes for like people, you know?
Yeah.
And it's really nice then when people get excited about it. Had something recently that I hadn't seen of someone like wearing something like a reel on Instagram. And in the few hours I hadn't like looked at my phone since, and it had been posted and whatever, and I had like so many people like commenting and messaging, and I'm just like, that feels like, feels really, that part of it feels really special.
And it's all online, isn't it?
Yeah.
How's it been building that for Pristine?
Oh, it's strange, you know? It's obviously everyone moans about algorithms all the time, but it's just tough. And I think I was really fortunate that I managed to kind of establish the kind of following of the brand the first kind of 6 months, year or so, before things got really difficult in that way. But it's such a strange experience, the pressure of it and the burden that you feel like you have to always be posting and always be interacting and engaging with stuff. And then every now and again you'll have something go really viral, which, you know, is amazing in so many ways and can, you know, be great for like generating sales and like bringing new people. Like, I've had some like reels that have had like millions of views, but then you realize sometimes that the people it brings aren't necessarily your people. And as people will like follow something because, oh, this is like a viral like video, I guess this is like the place to be, I'm going to stick around and like see what happens, not because they actually like care about it. And I think in that way my kind of like relationship with social media and like your audience has kind of changed quite a lot over the last few years. And you really realize how much it's about the kind of the quality of the kind of audience and community that you have in your relationship with those people, and then being like your people over the
masses.
quantity.
Yeah.
And you don't want something to be like mass. I don't
No.
want everyone to like what I'm doing.
No.
I wouldn't like it anymore then. Like, I'm a contrarian and I want it to be like
provocative. Yeah.
And it's really easy to get really caught up in that and like lose yourself a bit. And I think I had for a while, and I was getting very lost in like thinking of, oh, what are you going to do that's going to, get more followers? Or like, people aren't going to like that piece. Like, if we make that, it's going to get good engagement. And then from the side of it of sales and everything and the pieces that you're making, it's sometimes you really have to take that step back and really think and really kind of ask yourself again, like, am I doing it for me?
Yeah.
Because that's why you do something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't like a get rich scheme. Like, no way. And I'm not doing it to please other people, and I'm not doing it to please an algorithm or to please a random like retailer or whatever. I want to do something that I believe in and that I'm proud of.
Yeah.
Like, I would have picked a way, way easier life if that wasn't the case. So it's I feel like I'm like on I've like course corrected.
Yeah.
I think, and my relationship with Pristine is better than it was in the past.
Yeah. So we got a bit sidetracked there. So should we talk about the Julia Fox dress?
Yeah.
Here she is.
Doesn't have much hanger appeal, annoyingly, like
No.
the pieces.
Yeah.
So
It does. It looked amazing on her though.
Yeah, the styling and everything.
Yeah.
The pigtails and the boots. It was very, very good. But yeah, her stylist reached out and they pulled quite a few bits, and then obviously you never know if it's going to get worn or not. And like, people love her.
Yeah.
And I think she is someone that then people are like really excited to see wear it, And when it's like someone that you really like was wearing a brand that you really like, I think people get like really into it, which is cute. And yeah, she looked great.
Yeah.
Reposted a photo to my story, and the photographer said they were going to sue me, which hasn't happened yet. It is nice that it kind of, this dress was like soured for me like very early on, when the first time I like loaned it to anybody, days after it had been shot, it came back like practically destroyed, and had lots of love trying to improve it. So it was nice to have like a good kind of association with it.
Yeah.
And like, I still every kind of few weeks get someone emailing or messaging like asking about if they can buy this dress, because I think people love it, and I think the traction and kind of interest in it definitely spiked after she wore it. So yeah,
so good. Any other stylists that you'd love to slide into the DMs? Who would you love to dress?
I mean, all my like favorite people are like dead or like really old, but like at the same time, like, even though it's not like the heyday, I mean, if someone like Madonna's stylist or something came knocking, you'd be like, yeah. Also, I always joke about Miss Piggy.
Oh my god,
it's not going to happen. I have DM'd Miss Piggy's Instagram account a few
have
times.
You?
Let me dress you.
Yeah.
But yeah, a stylist is hard because you get quite jaded by it. It's exhausting. But I have really appreciated how some people, like high profile people that have worn things over the last kind of year or so, have been people that have like reached out themselves and they've bought things, and it's been people that like I really like and have said like, yeah, I'd love to dress you, like, like I will give it to you, like it's fine, and they've insisted on paying for things. And it's really, really nice when people that you think are cool think what you're doing is cool and want to support it, and that's what I want to see more of.
Yeah. So my next question was, if you could bring back anyone from the dead to wear Pristine for a day, who would it be? And I will allow multiple outfit changes.
Mae West.
What do you love about Mae?
She just was doing it on her own terms, you know, and had so much fucking spunk.
My God. Well, this is quite a different segue. But I wanted to ask you about workshops. So we've gone from May West to workshops.
By a spunk.
By a spunk, yeah. So like, how's that been, like connecting with your customers? Is that something that you'd like to do more of? You've done the mini skirt workshops.
Yeah, I mean,
How would you like to see that develop?
I, you know, as I've kind of touched on, I'm really passionate about, you know, people seeing the value in their clothes, and also people like having like a craft and a skill set. And I think there's something that's really, and I hate this word, like empowering about that. And I think the more we can do to make people feel like physically in touch with what goes into the clothes that they're wearing and buying, it's going to do a lot to kind of counter people seeing clothes as being disposable, and the people that make them as being like just like an idea of a person rather than like an actual human being on the other side of the world that's
Sewing your clothes.
being treated like shit. And obviously, like, me teaching a workshop to 6 people isn't going to change the world, but I just think you've got to do stuff that like is contributing to the world being a bit more like what it should be. Like, it's like the hellscape that it is right now. And at the same time, it's really nice to meet people.
Yeah.
And so much of the brand is online. And to do more things of varying natures in real life is something I really want to do more of. And it's nice to meet people and see their like excitement about it. And the kind of the look on people's faces when they can go from having never sewn anything in their life and like they leave at the end of the day and are so proud of themselves, like strutting around in that, and it's like it's really special.
That's really cute. You touched on like live events. Is there anything else you'd like to do more of in that realm?
I mean, obviously, you always dream of doing some kind of in real life show or like presentation or something. It'll definitely happen at some point. I mean, don't have the money to pay for it, so that's the kind of the big hurdle. But I also think more things that mean you get to actually meet and interact with our people in real life. And I think stuff that feels a bit more kind of community kind of centric, and whether it's involving like other brands or other artists or creatives or you know, workshops. We're all just glued to our phones too much, and we all need to like go out there and do shit, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't quite know in what form it'll be, but
no,
really want to.
And then what other ambitions do you have for the future of the brand?
Oh, they've changed so much, you know. Like, if you'd asked me like a couple of years ago, I'd be like, I want to have like shops everywhere, and I want to do shows at Fashion Week, and I want to be whatever. And realistically, I mean, in the short term, survive, to be honest. But I just want to be able to spend my life like making cool shit and people getting to see it and buy it, and people like love it too. And I love the process of making things. And obviously, for me to say, oh, I'd love to make shoes or sunglasses or like whatever it is more from the perspective of just like wanting to like see ideas come to life and have these objects exist, rather than necessarily being like sell, grow. Like, it'd be nice for things to be a bit bigger and a bit more comfortable, but I just want to be able to keep doing it, I think, more than anything. Like, more time doing the parts of it that I love. And I guess if that means growing to a level that there's more support of the bits that I don't love as much or I'm not as good at. But I just want to spend as much time as I can like making like cool
stuff. And my final question is, in theory, if the world were to end tomorrow, what will you be wearing to the after party?
Hopefully it's gonna not be tomorrow. If it was in maybe like 3-4 months time, and the new collection that I'm working on is gonna have some like amazing kind of like pieces inspired by like old like showgirl costumes with fringe, and that we'll go with that.
Perfect.
So it better not be tomorrow.
Cool. I love that. That's a vision. Well, thank you, Kathryn.
Thank you, Jackie.